Hey guys, welcome to A Little Bit of Monica. It is that time again, and it is time to put together a TBR for November. And I feel like with this one, it's gonna take a little bit of a twist, but I'm very excited to see where this TBR is gonna take me. I am going into this month with very few requirements of things to read, and that means that I can be a little bit more free-flowing with the choices that I end up making through the month. But I cannot start a month without having a TBR set, even if I don't stick to it. So we are going to build a TBR, and we're gonna see how well I can stick to that by the end of the month. Starting off, last month in October, I created a brand new Discord where I am running buddy reads and a Stephen King book club, and just a really great place for people to come and talk about books and read along with some of the books that I am really excited about. And because of how this Discord kind of came about, one of the things that I started off with was creating a Stephen King book club. I've been meaning to read a lot of Stephen King's books, and I just haven't had a chance to get to them. And so creating this book club is a way for me to get through so many of these beloved books, but also I know a lot of other people who have been meaning to get through some books as well. We are basically going to pick one book a month from Stephen King to read, and with how many books he has, if we keep this up, we have quite a few years to actually get through every single one of his books if we're doing one a month. So starting off, we have some of the months already picked out of what we are thinking of doing, but things are flexible. We can change as we need to. But with October, the first book that we read was It. And this one was a very highly anticipated read for me. And with it being October, Halloween, it was the perfect time. So we had to pick another book that was well timed for November. And I honestly could not think of a better option than 11/22/63. This book I have heard from some people as one of their all-time favorite books, which is very, very intimidating for me, but also really exciting because I cannot wait to try this out. This is a chunker, okay? This is a big book. Not as many pages as It, surprisingly enough, but it feels much larger because this is the hardback I got from my library. I also have the audiobook that I'm going to be reading along. But essentially, with this book club, what I'm going to be doing is putting up kind of a breakdown of if you want to read this book in a certain number of days, here's how you can kind of follow along with it. And then I'm going to have separate chats set up as those different portions come along so that you can talk with other people as you are going through. And I'm really excited for this. It worked really well, even though I took a little bit slower to read through than some other people, but it was really nice to be able to kind of pace yourself as you wanted to go. And with how thick these books are, with how long Stephen King writes, I think it works really well to be able to break each book down and kind of go at your own pace. A lot of people had the idea to read this book starting on November 1st and then finish it on 11/22. And I think that that's a really fun idea. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stick to that just because I'm going to have to see how this book goes and how quickly I am able to move through it. But I think that's a really cool idea, and I'll probably have a breakdown for that. But if you are interested in joining our read along, there is a link in the description for my Discord server. It's open to anyone, and you can come in and choose which things that you want to pay attention to, because I do have some other buddy reads going on as well. But this is the first one for November that I really want to focus on just because I'm so excited to read a book that I've heard so many good things about. So that's the one we're reading for November. But like I mentioned, there's also other buddy reads that are going on within my Discord as well. Currently, right now, we are doing a buddy read of the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver, and we have so far finished 2 of the 5 books in the series. So that means that currently we are reading Powerless, which is book 3. That's the one that I have right here, and I am really excited to be continuing to move through this series. It's been a lot of fun, and this is my first taste of Elsie Silver. So for the month of November, we are going to have the final 2 books in the series, and I have those right here. We have Reckless and Hopeless. So these 2 are going onto my November TBR. I know I'm going to be getting to these because I'm reading them along with the buddy read. And again, with these books, similar to what I mentioned with Stephen King, there is going to be a multi-day breakdown of reading this book over a few days. If you want to binge read it all in one day, that is perfectly fine. I may or may not have done that with Heartless. I binged it in I think 2 days instead of the 4 days that I had broken it down for. It happens, and if that's something that you want to do, you can absolutely do that. But for the sake of other people who are participating in the read along, it is broken down over a couple of days, and we're just going from one book right through the next. So I have the rest of this series that I need to be finishing this month. So those are going on my TBR as well for my Discord in particular. And then sticking with series that I am in the middle of, this one is kind of a looser read along. I am going to talk about it in my Discord a little bit, but this is more of a series that I started on my own like a month ago, and I never managed to move on past book 1, even though book 1 was a 5-star read. read, and I absolutely was obsessed with it when I finished. But I am going to be moving on to book 2 in the Ember and the Ashes series by Saba Tahir, and the second book is A Torch Against the Night. I am so excited to read this book. Ideally, I would love to get through books 2 and 3 this month because I will still have book 4 and the newest book, Air, which fits into the same world but is different characters. I want to be able to read both of those relatively soon, and so if I could get through both of these this month, that would be fantastic, but at least this one is a priority. And the next grouping of books that I want to talk about are books that, again, I have been putting off, but in the last couple of months I have really been trying to be intentional about getting through some of these books, and it's been working lately, so I'm hoping that if I put them on my TBR again, it will be successful once more. So I am going to be intentionally trying to read a couple of my special edition books. I have been getting some book boxes for the past year, and if I'm not turning the books around right away, they are just collecting in a stack on my shelf, and I really want to be turning these books around, finding out if I even like them, and some of them have been misses, so like I really do want to get to some of these and see if they are even books that I want to keep. So I've been making it a mission to try to read at least like 1, 2, ideally 3 of my special editions every single month to try to get through some of the backlog. And so I do have a couple of books on my list. The first one is The God and the Gumiho by Sophie Kim. I think I'm going to be getting the audio hold on Libby very, very soon, and by getting it, I mean I've already delayed it a couple of times, but the next time it comes in, I think I'm going to accept it because I do really want to read this book, and because I keep seeing the audio, it's making me like anxious for wanting to read it. So I think I am going to throw this one on there in hopes that I get to this. The next book I'm going to put on this list as a possibility is To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly X. Chang. I don't remember the plot of this book simply because I have had it on my TBR for a while and it keeps coming back around, and I've had this copy for a number of months. I think it came out like earlier this year, maybe April or May, and I just haven't had a chance to get to it, but I again keep getting the audio hold from Libby and just delaying it. So I think I'm going to accept it the next time it comes in, and I really want to push through this book. And then the third book that I want to put as a possibility, just so I have some options, because again, I'm a mood reader and we'll see what I'm in the mood for as the month progresses, but Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This is one of the books I have had probably the longest of my special editions that I have not read yet, and it is so tragic. This is my favorite color, and I just don't understand why I haven't been able to like get it into my head to read this book, but I finally am adding it on here. I have the audio from Hoopla, and I have the physical copy, and I also had a NetGalley arc of the ebook, so literally no excuse for me to not read this book. I am putting this on my TBR. It has to happen this month. I am telling you, it has to happen. Someone hold me accountable because I need to make sure I'm reading this book, but it is so pretty, it is so reflective, and this is like a murder mystery fantasy on the high seas because it's on a ship, so everything is very tight quarters, and this just sounds like it's going to be so good, and I need to read it. And because it counts as a NetGalley arc, that just helps my NetGalley rating go up. But that brings me to the next portion of my TBR, and this is something I've been doing every single month that has been working really well and actually doing its job of holding me accountable to get through my arcs on time. Every month going through my NetGalley list and seeing which books are publishing that month that I haven't read yet and prioritizing them for the month, and it's really been working. The problem is I don't have any books currently on my November NetGalley list. Like, I don't have a single book in there that is publishing in November, which means that I have a chance here to go through my NetGalley backlist, because as much as I like to say that I am trying to keep up with all of the publishing dates, I started this a little late because I was getting a backlog of books that I had missed the publication date for, and then trying to keep up with the new ones meant that I was just getting further and further behind. So this is a perfect chance for me to get ahead on some of the books that I already have for the coming months, but also to work back and get some of the books that already came out and I just hadn't had a chance to read yet. So to help me with the task of picking these books, because I have quite a few books on my list, I decided to use a spinner wheel. I have put the names of almost all of the books on my NetGalley list, and I'm going to be spinning it to see exactly what my wheel is going to tell me to read. I'm a little nervous, but again, as a mood reader, I can just fit these into the month whenever, especially because none of them publish this month, so I don't have to worry about getting them in by a certain date. So without further ado, we are going to spin and find out what the Wheel of Arcs is going to tell me to read this month. For spin number 1, we have Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle publishes next year. So this is a 2025 release that comes out next May. So this one I am going to be doing very well in advance, but I received this one in my email and I'm really excited because I think the concept of this book sounds super interesting. The tagline for this book is, "What if you could have one last meal with someone you've loved, someone you've lost?" This whole thing just sounds really bizarre, but interesting, and I'm really excited to read this. I think this is my most recent acquisition of an ARC, which means that I am turning this one around very, very quickly, which is a good thing. So I'm excited that that was the first one that I ended up spinning, but let's move on to spin number 2. I think I'm going to pick 3 books for this month. So let's just jump in right into spin number 2. That was a really good spin. Okay, next up is Their Monstrous Hearts. Their Monstrous Hearts by Yeet Turan is another book that I have that doesn't publish until next April, so I have quite a bit of wait time on this one, but I am excited again to be reading this relatively early. This one is a horror book, which makes me very excited to have a little bit of variety in my ARCs for this month. This one is about a person who finds out that his grandmother died and left her estate to him, and he's gonna go find out what was really left behind, and there's gonna be a lot of weird things happening with this like butterfly collection that she had. This is labeled as a gothic kind of haunting story. I have been really loving the gothic style over the past couple of months, so that makes me very excited to get to this book. Also because I really planned on not reading this one until like February or March of next year, just to get a little bit ahead, but reading it a couple months early, I am here for it. So this is a great one to add to my list. Now let's go in for the third and final spin for this month. Silver Under Nightfall. Oh god. Okay, this one is in fact a very, very backlisted ARC that I've had, and there's a reason why I haven't read it, and it's because it's really long and intimidating, and because it is book 1 of 2, and I have both books on my NetGalley list. Okay, I have to do it because the wheel told me to, but I'm a little nervous for this one, just especially because of how long it is and the fact that I have to balance it with 11/22/63 this month. So Silver Under Nightfall is going to be the third book on my ARC list, and it is going to very much be a backlist choice. So there we have it, the 3 books on my ARC list for this month. And there is only one more book that I want to mention that I'm going to put on my November TBR, especially now that I have so many books on here, and some of them are very long, but there is one that I want to mention because it is a brand new release. Bloodguard by Ceci Robson just came out recently after being delayed quite a few times in publication, and it's finally out, and I'm going to be getting the audiobook any day now, so I do want to add this one to my list because it is new and I want to be keeping up with the books that I order and actually be turning those around as well. So this one's going to be thrown on my list. It's just not really attached to anything else. I just want to be able to read it this month. But that brings me to the end of all the books that I have, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm overwhelmed, as I always am, but it's going to be so much fun to read through these books. I had a fantastic reading month in October, which means I am hoping I can do at least half as well in November, but November is going to be a really fun time. I have a lot of birthdays within my family as well as my own coming up at the end of the month, so I have a lot to go on, and I'm hoping that I can still get in some really solid reading time, but work is also about to pick up a little bit, so we're gonna have to see how the month goes, but I'm very excited. I would love to hear your excitement if you've read any of these books or if any of them are also on your TBR. Please let me know. If you are joining my Discord to join any of the read-alongs or the Stephen King book club, let me know that. I'm very excited to have you, and I will see you in that chat if you are joining. Again, description will have the link to that. But I want to thank you for watching this video and your comments if you leave any. I am very excited for all of the very fun things to be coming up, so I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Bye!